Hey guys, it's Fred and Sheila, Hatfield McCoy Museum. Sheila's behind the camera.
Hi guys, hope you're doing well today.
Once again, it's going to be a video on a site somebody had sent to us to look at. I started looking, reviewing it, and I'm seeing things on there that's totally inconsistent, things that's incorrect. And I can see why, because even one of the members that's on there that claims to be related, related to the Hatfield family has never been proven on that end. So maybe someday that will come out where it'll be proven one way or the other, because Dennis Hatfield and Sadie Hatfield had been divorced when this person's father would have been conceived. Not that it couldn't have happened, but it's not likely. And from everybody we've talked to, it's not.
Okay.
And, okay, I'll move on. She's telling me to move on. Keep it moving. Nothing to see here, guys.
Nothing to see here, brother.
Guys, it's got a thing on there talking about the feud events on that Facebook page, that historical page, and that's what it reads. And the only thing I'm going to cover is the first one. It says 1863, Devil Anse Hatfield forms a guerrilla band. Raids and thefts follow between the McCoys and the Hatfields. Raids and theft between the McCoys and the Hatfields. Don't remember, I'm half Hatfield, remember that. But I don't remember no raids from the McCoys stealing from the West Virginia Hatfields or the Kentucky Hatfields. I remember Devil Anse Hatfield and his Tug Valley desperados, his wildcats, his whatever you want to call them, just a bunch of desperados that went AWOL and deserted and became like Jesse and Frank James and started robbing and stealing. Now, this is not a hard one to correct.
Okay.
Because it says Devil Anse Hatfield forms a guerrilla band. 1863, well, we know Civil War started in 1861. Devil Anse joined the Civil War in the fall of 62, and by February of 63, he had deserted. He was barely there to get long enough to get a uniform, if he got one. Why is it, and you know, that's what started the hard feelings when Devil Anse and Randall McCoy and Uriah McCoy, my great-grandfather, were fighting together. Devil Anse and a bunch of his family members and others
Skedaddled.
loaded up.
Skedaddled.
Skedaddled. They ran. They deserted. Now, this paper doesn't say Devil Anse deserted. It says 1863, Devil Anse forms a guerrilla group. Guys, why would you want to, I don't care if it's my uncle, my dad, my grandpa, why would you want to totally lie? Why do you want to make a person out to be a hero that was a deserter? Now, I can tell you this all day long. I can tell you this, or I can show you. Anderson Hatfield, 45th, a deserter since February 1863. Now, there's his rank. Again, we go over this all the time, but there's his private, not a captain, and 5'6", rebel deserters. 5'6". Farmer for him. Down here's absent without leave, 1863. You know, some people, thank you, babe, that's a good point. Some people wants to say, well, Randall McCoy got so mad at Devil Anse because while he was a prisoner of war, Devil Anse was logging and timbering and making all kinds of money. He was a rich man. Really? There's when the Civil War was going on. Show it again, punk, because we're not going to edit this one. Farmer. The same thing, farmer, occupation farmer. Devil Anse Hatfield was nothing more than a farmer then. And after he deserted and Randall McCoy and Uriah McCoy was taken prisoner of war, he became a thief. He became a thief. He took what he wanted. I've told people forever, it's not hard to get rich. It's not hard to get well off if you take it from somebody else. If you steal from others, it's not hard to, and especially when Randall McCoy was in Camp Douglas, Illinois, in prisoner of war for 2.5 years, and Devil Anse had to run of Make Creek area, of you know, West Virginia had just become a state in 1863. They had just formed into a new state. There was no law enforcement there. There was no government. There was no, they're just getting going.
Well, and too, a lot of the men there were in the war fighting.
They were gone.
That left the home places, some of them without.
Of course, they went on toward Tennessee and South Carolina and fighting in different areas. That's why Devil Anse didn't go. He didn't want to go away from home. He didn't want to leave his new bride where he had just got married. Some people said, oh, he had a family. No, he didn't. He had one kid later on. He had Johnsy later on. He didn't have no kids when Civil War was going on. They had just gotten married, him and Levice. But when you see something like that, and you know, right, and that's why Altina Waller's book, all kinds of Coleman Hatfield's book, when you see books like that, and they're already starting off one-sided, that's the number one, 1863, the first thing on the list. When you see something like that, and it's already it's fabricated and it's trying to steer you in a different direction to make you think that that man was a hero, that man formed his own home guard to try to save face, because he didn't want people there to know that him and the others had deserted. They saved face. They went home and said, we're going to be on the home guard. We're just going to take care of what's here. How can you claim to be in the Civil War when you deserted your men in the heat of battle? I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We have covered this many a times, and she's given me a thumbs up, but
Where's my thumb at?
I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But he returned home and formed a guerrilla band. He formed what was called the Tug Valley Desperados that stole and wreaked havoc on those people in that area, because they were a band of 12 to 16 to 18 men, and they run power in numbers. And he run around and took what he wanted from whoever he wanted, because most of the men was either killed or off fighting on south, or they were in prisoner of war camps. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye. God bless.